Behold the glorious reveal of my favorite Warframe at long last. But I just don't know what to do anymore. I tried my best, but I just don't have a favorite. I tried presenting every single Warframe in the game as my favorite, and I just don't have one. It's almost like spending a lot of time with a game gives me such an appreciation for so many different things that it would be reductive to choose a single favorite. Crazy. What are we going to do now? I still have to finish this series to answer Liliana's parlay question from like 4 months ago and decide my favorite. Making only 40 videos only bought me so much time. Well, I guess that means we're just going to have to get serious. What's my most used Warframe? Oh, 5.9%. It's not even, like, they're not even that far off. Okay, that's completely useless. That doesn't mean anything at all. Damn. That didn't work out. Okay, let's try something else. All right. I got something. Hold on. Okay, so for this next part, so you know how Zaku is made of many different Warframes? So we'll just do a little little and then no, that's not quite. And just move you over here, over Hua. That'll do. Okay, let me just reorient myself here a little bit, and we'll get a little sit in the chair. There we go. Beautiful. Okay. Behold the glorious Warframe, the best frame for all of the things, except for the things they are not the best at. This Warframe, well, let me tell you, they have an excellent, well-rounded balance of abilities. You know the ones. They've got that tankiness, that separate layer of damage reduction to go with armor, good base health, so you could slap some armor on there. They even have some sort of passive, easy-to-sustain healing thing. You know the one I mean. I'm not naming names. You know the abilities. Good stuff. And alongside that, has a lot of other useful tools in their kit as well. The unique thing about this frame is the ease with which they can defend objectives while also killing enemies on the move. Just an incredible combination of strengths. They definitely doesn't overlap with any other Warframe, except for the frames that also have that strength. Okay, that should be long enough. Okay, everybody shut up. Nobody will find us here. I'll let you in on a little secret, my dear viewer. I may not have a single favorite, but there are certainly frames I like more or less than others. And with that said, what I'm about to show you is dangerous, reckless, and highly illegal. So don't go telling anybody or nothing, all right? Yeah, we're just gonna do a tier list. I'm just gonna rank them all in a tier list. This was the obvious thing to do the whole time, but I'm stubborn, so I decided not to. Until now we're gonna do it. Can I? Okay, that doesn't really work. Anyway, hello. We'll do this now. This shouldn't be too bad. Let's get started. I'll start with some that I know I don't like. And in fact, come on, we can get a camera in here. We can add a camera to this. We'll take video capture device. We'll just do a little waboosh. Hey, what's going on, folks? I'll just put myself in there. Cool. Let's start with the ones that I know I don't like very much. So like Valkyr, and where's Loki? So these are Warframes that I think are designed really badly. I think there's sort of no point to them being in the game the way they are. Their kits are very incomplete. They're not really finished or complete gameplay experiences, or like they have their lunch really badly eaten by other Warframes. Another pretty good example of that would be like Inaros. For different reasons, like Valkyr doesn't really have abilities. Loki has kind of been, I think power creep is a term that's really overused and misattributed to things in this game to which it does not apply. But Loki may be one of the few cases where I think he legitimately did experience power creep, so go figure. And then Inaros is just numerically weak. He's just a big ball of health, but there are other Warframes that do that better, and so we'll go from there. Now, you might be asking, well, Zandy, you're just making like a normal Warframe tier list. These aren't your favorites. I do care about this. Like for me, a favorite, things that are my favorites. are going to be influenced by a variety of factors. And there are some things that just write you right off. And so that's one of them. I think these Warframes are just not well designed. And that's really easy, so I wanted to use that as a starting point. I don't think I'm going to keep these frames here, but I'm just going to start putting some frames down. I like Necros. Banshee is maybe like a C for me. Octavia, I'm going to say D. Revenant is definitely a D. In fact, I might even put Revenant as F. Revenant is bad because, is bad for me liking him, because his build craft is just like nothing. Like, you literally just build a bunch of strength and it does everything and that's it. And anything else is basically just wrong. And I think that's very sad. It could easily be otherwise. It just went way too far there. I rather like Zaku's appearance. I enjoy Zaku's kit as well. I like having some utility, some room for utilities. I do really like Hildren. Hildren's up there. Neja's great. Great fun, anyway. Actually sort of a Nyx fan. These are all kind of like meh frames. Let's see. I do really like Wisp. I'm not putting anyone in S yet. Anytime I think I really like something, I'm gonna put it in A, and then I'll bump them up at the end. So no peeking. You can't skip to the end of the video. I'll physically stop you. Go ahead, try it right now. Try to skip to the end. I will literally come to your house and physically stop you. That's okay. Gonna get in trouble for that one later in life. But okay, Mag. Yeah, like Mag is kind of a meh for me. Nidus is cool. I actually sort of feel around here about Nidus. I think that these Warframes are very linear. Like, they're kind of overpowered, but in like what I think is to be sort of a boring way. Actually, Rhino as well. I've had good times with Rhino though. Rhino can go up to a C. Rhino's just boring. I like Titania. She's cool. Some unique stuff going on there. Not a big Limbo fan. The thing I think is a problem with Limbo is that the whole like trolling people with the Rift thing, I think that's like, it's not a problem because it's like hard to use or anything. I don't think it's like too difficult to actually play Limbo. I think the problem is it really just doesn't suit Warframe as a game. Warframe is kind of like a casual coordination game, and having an ability in a game like that literally just outright stops other players from hurting enemies is a problem. Like, I think that might just be a mistake. But I don't know. I enjoy using Limbo when I use him, but I think he goes in the F for me. Okay, definitely Mirage, F. I've given my whole spiel about Mirage, but basically just like, it's a complete waste that you can't control light and dark. It would be so easy to just put that in our kit. I think the developers are just being stubborn with that one. So anyway, you could even make it a toggle. I don't like that solution, but I think it'd be nice if you could just make light and dark and then position in them. It's a great idea with bad execution, just like almost every problem I have with Warframe. So Garuda, I really like. I'm actually a pretty big Grendel fan. The argument about Inaros kind of carries over here. Like, Grendel is basically just Inaros, but with abilities. Inaros does have abilities. You could numerically buff Inaros, but anyway. I really like Gauss. Harrow's cool. Harrow has kind of like a micromanagement problem. Like, I don't know if I enjoy playing Harrow all that much. Just because it's actually it's like the opposite problem with Octavia and Nidus. I'll put Harrow here. I sort of like Harrow. I really like Harrow's appearance. Excalibur, lol. Ashe has always been a classic. Ashe was the first Warframe I ever bought. When I was a noob and I didn't know anything about Warframe, I bought Ashe with platinum that I bought with real money, and I did not buy Ashe Prime. I bought a normal Ashe with a normal Ak Bronco. This is true. This is a thing I did. Noob Zandy. Mace is cool. I do think the aimbot is very relaxing. I think that in a lot of games, aimbots are just stupid, but like, this is a horde shooter. It's a PvE horde shooter, so I think Mace is kind of fun. I really like Protea. I like how Protea looks. I like Protea's abilities. Have been a Saren fan, but she's not. Again, I hope it's clear that to say that just because such and such a Warframe has like 5.9% of my playtime. Like, that doesn't mean anything. It's from early on in the game. I saw Inaros was up there. Volt was up there. Where's Volt? I think Volt's probably a B for me. Volt is one of the Warframes that got me interested in Buildcraft in this game in the first place. I like Ivara. I don't play Ivara that much. I think Ivara is like Harrow for me, where like I think her kit can be a bit much, and I just play too much while I'm streaming. Like, I think if I wasn't streaming, I would enjoy it. And indeed, like, I do play Harrow a bit off stream and have fun. But I like them okay. The problem with them is me, not really. The problem for them with me is me. Baruch, I feel, is a little bit of a disappointment. I really like Baruch, though, and it's about that, so we'll say Baruch. I just think it's too bad because his kit is really redundant. He has like 3 different ways to defend himself, so like I don't love that part of the gameplay loop. I don't like having to manage restraint that much because I feel like he doesn't lose it fast enough for using so many things, using so many abilities, losing so much restraint against so many enemies. Trinity. Oh, Trinity. Trinity kind of narrows the design space. I'm going to be harsh on Trinity. Trinity goes there. Ember, not a huge Ember fan. I think that she is too simple. All her abilities are just fire. They did make her 2 and her 3 have this like balancing the heat gauge thing. You're not rewarded enough for that. I think Ember's kind of underpowered. So anyway, Ember's going down there for me. I really like Equinox. I've enjoyed Oberon in the past. I think Oberon's a little meh at the moment. I don't know what it is with Wukong. I think that for me, Wukong's abilities don't do enough. I really like his new first ability since the rework, but it's just not enough somehow. There's also always been something about Wukong's appearance that just didn't click for me somehow. I think Wukong is too large to feel like a agile. I feel slower. That's what it is. I feel slower when I play Wukong. I have no idea why. Anyway, I don't know why I'm not a fan, but I'm not a fan. Let's see. Chroma is like the antithesis of most of what I stand for as a Buildcraft player, so I would say F, but that's harsh. And I don't mind Chroma. Chroma gets D. Atlas, meh, but I like how Atlas looks, so I'll say B. Again, it's much more important what I think of them than how good they are, because that's not what this tier list is about. Like, it's more important what I think of them, but I do care about how good they are. Like, nobody's forcing me to talk about these criteria. I just chose them myself. We're getting near the end, and then I have to move them around. These are just preliminary placements. By the way, shout out to, I don't know who made this tier maker page, but I looked through quite a few, and a lot of them had problems. Like, they included the normal and primed version of the Warframe, which is completely useless. There is really no difference. So you would never rank a frame differently based on whether it's their normal or primed version. So that's annoying. Some of them, like if the frame was primed, they only showed the prime, which I think for a tier list just makes it harder to recognize them. So anyway, whoever made this, thanks. It's very helpful. Hydroid. I like Hydroid. I find Hydroid's ability satisfying to use, but not the puddle. But content creator mode. Yeah, Hydroid for good memories can go up there. Nova's whatever. To me. Vauban I had a romance with early in my time playing, but since I have grown to dislike Vauban, I find his abilities samey somehow. I don't know why. But anyway. Zephyr's cool. I've actually always been a bit of a Zephyr fan. I like projectile flight speed too. Gara, I find the glass stacking mechanic to be a bit stressful. The detriment, the punishment if you fail to maintain it is too large, I feel. So I don't know. Korra, like, on the one hand, double companions, and I love me some companions. On the other hand, just compounds my disappointment about companions. Just like not having a amazing place in the game or having weird AI or whatever. But I do like Korra. I really like Korra's deluxe skin too. I think Korra probably goes up here. And then Frost. Snowplow Frost will always hold a place in my heart. Frost can be C tier. Okay, so is there anything wrong here? I would say if I have to move some up of the A tiers up to S, and then we'll just start bumping frames around. Let's see. I think Octavia might be an F for me. Octavia, it's too bad because I kind of like Octavia, but like for gameplay, I really don't like Octavia's appearance. I think it's not like the aesthetic looks cool to me, but the sort of awkward, jagged, sticking out parts is just an aesthetic I don't like. And I feel the idea of syncing up to music, I really like that idea, but I don't like the execution of it. I don't like needing to, and somehow to me, I'm not great at rhythm games and such, so keep that in mind. But even when I try to listen to the music, I have always felt like the timing was just off for Octavia. I feel like when I feel like I'm timing it correctly, I don't get the buff. Which again, like that, it's probably just me. I'm not saying that Octavia is like broken or something, and her timing thing doesn't work. I'm just saying personally, I have never enjoyed that. I'm just gonna zoom in since we have all of them in place now, and like scroll up a little bit. So yeah, Octavia will get put in F. I'm just putting Warframes in F now. Poor Ember. I'm not gonna put you in F tier. I'm not gonna put these in F tier. I don't think anybody else is in F tier for me. This is a pretty brutal F tier lineup. So it's like mostly Warframes that are either way too bad or like way too good, but in a way that I think is a little reductive. It's too bad too because I really like Octavia's conductor augment for her resonator, the rollerball. Yeah, I hate Mirage. I might have a least favorite Warframe. Mirage might be that. But Valkyr and Loki are really up there. And yet I don't really hate them that much. Like, if I don't know, I do dislike Valkyr a lot. I'm going to put Mirage over here. I didn't order these in particular, but I just, for some reason, I want to see these three together. Okay, cool. Let's move some people up. I want to look at these and see, like, do I like any of them more than others? I mean, Necros, Hydroid. I do really like Equinox. I think Hildren might be up there. That's hard. I do really like Wisp. And I do really like Gauss. Yeah, okay. And I think I do like them more than these. Definitely, I think like Ash is the lowest of these four. Garuda I do really like. I like these, but I don't know, not as much. I like Titania. Titania can go up a bit. Zaku can go up a bit. Grendel can go up a bit. Okay, wow. Volt can go up a bit. Okay. And then C tier. Should any of these move? I think I kind of want to move Avara up. I'm not sure. I think this might pretty much be it. I kind of want to move Nyx up, actually. I don't know. Why does everybody hate Nyx so much? I mean, I know why, but one of my personal least favorite things is when people say, I don't understand why people blah 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 blah, and it's like, okay, but it's readily apparent why. Like you do know why. Like, I get that it's just the saying, but like you absolutely do know why. So shame on myself for doing that thing. Cool. Now, as a reward for getting to the end of this, I will flip my camera back to the way you're used to, and we'll just size that up. And there we are. Piece of cake every single time, folks. There it is. My favorite Warframe. As good an answer as you're going to get. There it is. You heard it here first. Let's make it big so it looks pretty. There you go. You happy now? Are you happy now, Liliana? Are you happy now? Is this what you wanted? So yeah, thanks for watching this series. I'll update it with new Warframes as they come out in the future. So, for example, at the moment, the alphabetically last Warframe is Zephyr. Zephyr will remain the last in the list, and then this video will be after. But like Lavos is the next Warframe that's coming out. I'm almost positive that's the name. I will make a Lavos best Warframe video and then put that video in the list where it belongs alphabetically. And then this video, I guess, won't be updated. Maybe I'll update it here and there. We could make the end of it be, yeah, like I could see maybe redoing it in a long time. But I feel like for a lot of the Warframes, the new Warframes that are coming out, like a lot of these that I really like, you'll notice are not like too new. The big, if I had to narrow this down even further, which I don't really feel, Equinox and Necros, I really like both. Now again, I really don't think it's accurate to say like you could just keep narrowing it down and then that's my favorite, because once you narrow it down this much, there are even some of these where it's like, okay, but depending on what you mean by like your favorite, like it's totally Volt or it's totally Ash or it's totally Neja or whatever, you know. You could even go, I think Saren is probably A, actually. I'm going to move Saren up to A. I'm sorry, I prevented you from witnessing the, here, we'll go back, right, I covered it up with my face. Here you go, you can see again. Let me just remove my head. Yeah, I think Saren can be up here. I don't, like, this is just, if you ask me to not think about it too hard and just intuitively put them here, this is what I would do. But if you made there be more than this, like the reason I kept it at the classic S, A, B, C, D, F, is because I know if you ask me to do it too much, then it just stops meaning anything to me anymore. Like you could hold me at gun. I say this all the time. You could hold me at gunpoint and say, you need to pick your favorite Warframe, and I'd be like, Hydroid or whatever, you know? And like, it doesn't mean anything. Like, that's not, you can't like trick me. I had a friend one time, this will be my anecdote to finish. I had a friend one time that felt that way. They kind of wanted to like trick me into admitting that I did secretly have a favorite. I was dating multiple people at the time, and he said, okay, but you do like one of them more. And I was like, I don't. That's not how I think of it. They're different. Like they're on kind of an equal plane of meaning to me, but in different parts of that place, if that makes sense. And they were like, okay, well, they're both like going to fall off a cliff. Like, which one do you pick? And it's like the one that's closer, I don't know. Like you can sort of force me to choose, but that doesn't mean that I do have a favorite. It just means like, I'm a human being and I'm capable of choice. Like, just obviously you can't live your life unless you can choose things. And so anyway, you know, I know nobody really asked, and obviously if you've been watching this series this long, clearly you believe I don't have a favorite at this point, I would assume. But if you need an explanation of like, what is that experience like, that's like the best I can do for you. The last thing I want to talk about is Warframe Design a little bit, because we did this whole series. And I made that joke earlier about, like sort of like a framework as though it's like every Warframe, like behold, the general like Warframe that is just every Warframe except for all the frames that it isn't, or, you know. And the thing about that is that it's sort of true. Like one thing that I noticed going through this is that there is an interesting consistency with which Warframes are designed in like sort of one of a few different ways, or they might not actually be designed that way, but the result is that way. Another thing I was going to do that I think it would just be too few categories for it to make sense, but would be to categorize them by whether or not they're like type A, type B, or type C of Warframe. And so now I'm going to tell you what I think those things are. I think type A is they check the basic boxes, and then they have like a few unique little things. A lot of Warframes are like this. So this is like Nyx is an example that comes to mind. Nyx can be just basically unkillable with Assimilate, and then has a crowd control tool, Chaos, and has some tool that boosts damage, or maybe by removing enemy defenses. In her case, it's Psychic Bolts. And then she has a little unique thing in like Mind Control and her passive. But mostly she's just like a generalist. Oberon has his grass to negate status effects and do radiation to control enemies a bit. He's got his heal that also gives some armor, and then his smite infusion buff from his first ability. And that's shareable now, isn't it? Yeah, huh. Well, anyway, he has sort of basic tools at his disposal. And then he has Reckoning, and you can remove armor that way as well. And there's little extra things all over the place with Oberon, like you're immune to status and knockdown on the grass. You get the idea. They just have sort of a kit that does the basic things that you're looking for in a Warframe, and then they have some bonuses. And what defines the Warframe is mostly like, what are the bonuses? And then, so that's kind of type 1, yeah? Type 2 are what I would call the top-down designs. So these are the Warframe has an idea or a theme, and then they made a kit that reflects that theme. Usually these Warframes have hard-coded synergies where like their abilities kind of don't do anything unless you use them together, and they're usually pretty strong and regarded by the community pretty well, I've noticed, but they're often not very flexible is a common theme. The best example I can think of is Nidus. Octavia is sort of a good example. Octavia is fairly flexible. She is not happy about nullifiers, but it's not the end of the world. But you see what I mean, where like Nidus, like it's a top-down, like infested or like really infested Warframe. And then what abilities would that be like? Mutation stacks. How do we build them up with this ability? And we'll group enemies together, so this ability. And then how do we pay them off? So there'll be 2 abilities to pay them off. And you go like that, right? Now, Nidus does sort of have the basic tools as well. It's just they're kind of like, and it's more of an afterthought. Like the Parasitic Link thing is kind of a top-down ability where linking umbilical cord to somebody else has this kind of infested frame feel. And what should the effect of that ability be? Oh, I guess it should be damage reduction if it's to an enemy, and then strength if you link to an ally. And then, Nidus is tanky, and etc. And Nidus has that stuff, but it's usually more loose. Like, you don't always have that stuff. You do often have, like, a less stable version of those things, I think. What are some more examples? Again, Octavia is kind of messy, and all her powers are really splashy, not in a bad way. That's not weak, but she does have a less defined, like, she just survives well with stealth, but you have to, teabag to the beat. And crowd control, well, sort of. It's the taunt from Mallet and then Resonator. And damage, yeah, she has amp. You have to be in the area. It's not that those are bad or that she doesn't have them, but you can see how, like, it's not as direct as, like, Nyx has an ability that is you survive, an ability that is you control enemies, and an ability that is like UCC enemies, and like that's all they do. And yes, they're like psychic themed, but not, it doesn't feel as top down designed, and there aren't as many like the mutation mechanic or the manticore. There isn't this mechanic in the background, right? Another good example of the type A would be like Rhino. Another good example of the type B, I think, is probably like Protea would be a decent example. Like, what would a tech Warframe have? In fact, there's kind of an okay example. Protea will be a good type B example where we have sort of like a technology or like time manipulating Warframe that's going to have this utility. And then Vauban is a good example of a type C. So this is a Warframe that just all 4 abilities are like sort of variants on the same thing. Ember is another one of these. Ember is like fire, 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 and fire, but they like all do different things. Or Robin is like all grenades, but they do different things. Let me think of more examples of that. Yeah, like I would say Trinity is like all 4 abilities are just like healer thing, but in different ways. They don't like accomplish the exact same thing necessarily. Ember's 4 fire abilities don't accomplish the exact same thing, but maybe the thing to say is the Warframe has a very tight theme, and instead of designing that theme top down, it's almost like bottom up. Like, what can we make fire abilities do? We should have a fire Warframe. What should their abilities do? Rather than it is decided that we are going to do these infested abilities, so like they will need effects, rather than the type C approach, which I'm calling it, which is like this Warframe is gonna have these things. We know that, and it's not driven by like the idea of the Warframe. It's driven by like we're gonna have a Warframe where all the powers are grenades, rather than like we're gonna have an infested Warframe. It starts at the powers a bit more. Another example of a type B, the sort of like it's a top-down design, would be Limbo is a good example. I'm just looking at the other Warframes to get my memory going. So I guess type A is like they feel like a toolbox. Type B is they feel like a theme, I guess. And then type C is it feels like all the abilities are kind of the same. And so you can sort of categorize them that way. In fact, maybe we shall in the future. But for now, I hope that this has been an interesting look into What would happen if you asked me to try to pick a favorite Warframe? Well, I would revolt, of course. You think I will simply take this lying down? Ridiculous. Nice try, Liliana. You thought that you could get me that easily. You thought the video would end in a reasonable amount of time. See you later, folks. Thanks for watching.